Jeff,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Let everyone know who you are, and tell us a little bit about, this is not your first true event, although your first one in Oslo. I know you've been in Stockholm before. How's it different, and what brings you back?
Yeah. My name is Jeff Hilgers, and I'm the head of customer relations at a company called 23. It's a Danish company, and we do video. And so I'm here to not only to keep up with my hobby conversations about recruitment, but also try to add video in, pepper in that idea. And I've actually been to 2 in Stockholm and 1 in London.
1 in London, yeah.
So I have a good variety to choose from. I'd say that it's warming up to be a real, true style event. I think in the beginning people were a little stiff.
They don't know what to expect.
They don't know what to
expect. It's rabbits in headlights. It's kind of what's going on.
Exactly. But I'd say by now there's some more humor coming in. There's people asserting themselves. They're loosening up, being a little bit more free flow with their ideas, which is kind of the true spirit. Not being afraid to interrupt one another, not being afraid to go non sequitur. So I think that this is evidence that the true concept can translate to anywhere.
The way it works. So, for you then, the sessions you've been in this morning, or tracks you've been in this morning, what's kind of been your takeaways or learning points from here that maybe you've got a more global view that you'd say is particular to Oslo or particular to Norway, compared with, say, Sweden or London or the US? Yeah.
Well, I'd say the first thing is I come to these events to get inspiration, to understand the market. I think it's a lot of fun too, kind of an intellectual exercise. What I'm taking away from Oslo and what's ringing true with me is that these people in kind of true Nordic spirit are into things like authenticity, honesty, integrity, and they want that type of an angle. So when we talk about recruitment marketing, I see them gravitating back to that. And when I use words like authenticity, honesty, you can see them perk up a little bit because it seems what they're all about. They're not of the American brand of...
talk loud and fast.
Exactly. And no, they're very thoughtful and they're very honest. And I think it actually makes for an interesting challenge when it comes to marketing, because marketing is pushing the limits on your product and explaining it in that type of way. And they gravitate back to authenticity, which I think is a great place to operate.
Tell the true story.
Yeah, tell the true story. And you've said it a couple times today, too. Most companies have an employer brand problem because they are a tough place to work or not the right place. I mean, these problems that we have are kind of earned. So going back to honesty and assessing oneself and assessing one's organization is probably not a bad bet.
How do you get a good employer brand and be a good company? I think
doubt.
It's always really simple. We've talked about authenticity, and at the same time you're coming from a marketing background.
Sure.
How do you achieve being authentic when what you're also talking about is presenting the brand in a certain way in the most positive light? How do you actually do that?
For me, it's a soul search, right? Take inventory of what you have. Be honest with your weaknesses, and then highlight those things that are great about your company, because the truth is, I know this for a fact, you have not met a company ever where you could not take something wonderful out of that company.
Yeah.
Soul search, inventory.
I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer that you don't have a bad culture, you have a bad culture fit. So you may go work somewhere and say this is terrible. I may go somewhere and say this is great. I mean, I'll give you a simple example of that one. When I was at Google, I went into the Googleplex with 2 people, and when we walked in, we saw the beds that you have, and one guy looked at it and said, "This is fantastic. You could take a power nap. It's really cool." The other guy's going, "What's that? They work you so hard. You have to sleep in the office. You can't leave." And then we went around the corner, and everybody had like their pets, their dogs there. And one guy said, the same guy said, "This is fantastic because you can bring your dog to work, and when you get stressed, you can take it for a walk." The other guy's turning around and going, "Oh, this is terrible. Like you have to work so many hours that you can't leave your dog in your apartment, otherwise it's going to mess it up." So it's that wise of saying just being authentic is just telling the truth and saying this is it, and we're not for everyone.
Yeah, but how many companies are willing, though? Okay, the guy who doesn't like the dog, the guy who doesn't like the beds. How many people or how many companies are willing to put that round peg into the square hole, or vice versa?
Because he's got a CV or a resume that says, "I have 4 years experience of C++ programming," and you can't hire one at the moment.
Give him time. He'll love dogs and beds.
Yeah, I mean, something I picked up in Dublin was, I won't use the exact phrase, I'll use a polite version, but I talked about why Twitter, head of recruiting at Twitter, why they were able to get what they felt was their secret. They said, "We've become great at saying no to brilliant idiots." Like they're brilliant people on paper, but we're talking to them and they're just they're not going to work here.
No.
They're not going to be able to deal with the pace or the change or anything else. So, and I think that's a key. So that's great. Thanks, Jeff. It's great to see you again.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
And I'll see you in London or Helsinki or somewhere.
You certainly
No doubt.
will.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.